like you right now should come out and be like, you know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate
but like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. It is an issue of fairness.
That was California Governor Gavin Newsom on the first episode of his podcast, This is Gavin Newsom. Democratic governor chose far-right personality Charlie Kirk as his first guest, who pressed Newsom on trans athletes participating in women's sports. But his remarks aren't sitting well with many in his party, who are criticizing Newsom, formerly seen as an ally for the LGBTQ plus community, for appearing to pivot to the right. And current California law allows transgender athletes to play on school teams that are consistently with their gender identity. So for more on all of this, I want to bring back the panel. Amanda Renteria, John Katko, Ashley Davis, and Sabrina Singh. And Ashley, kick things off for us here. The issue of transgender athletes has become a focal point of Trump's administration, as it was in his campaign. So, I mean, is Gavin Newsom just doing the political math here on trans issues?
Well, first of all, even though he says this about transgender athletes, does not mean he doesn't support LGBTQ plus issues. I mean, he's just saying he supports this one issue. Sure. And I actually think he's read the tea leaves. 90% in a New York Times poll say that they think that men or transgender athletes should not be playing in women's sports. And so I think that he's on the right side of this issue. Obviously, he's doing a rebranding of himself in general, and this is one of the ways he can come in. But I just don't, it's a very out of touch issue with the majority of the American people for whoever on the Democrat side's criticizing him, again, just on this one issue with men in sports and women's sports.
Well, and John, to Ashley's point, he's specific on this issue in women's sports, and if you look at his policy as a question, I mean, he might still see himself as an advocate for LGBTQ plus issues, but within that party, I mean, do you see room to kind of split hairs there? I mean, is that a message that these two aren't the same? Does that work?
It probably will for him. He didn't do this on a whim. He did this. It was perfectly planned out. And it's one thing's for sure. He's running for president, and he knows if he runs for president, he's going to have to veer towards the middle at some point, a la Bill Clinton. And he's doing exactly what he should be doing if he's going to be a national candidate. This is not a great issue for the Democrats going forward. But everybody agrees that these people should be treated fairly and equally. But when you have the outgrowth being, men playing women's sports, and that's where it gets a little bit more of a nuance to it, and he's going to exploit that nuance to his benefit. That's exactly what he's doing right now. No question about it.
Yeah, well, and Sabrina, since President Trump's address, we've seen some now viral clips of Democratic Congresswomen who released a Choose Your Fighter video taking on the Trump administration. I'm curious, I mean, in your estimation, is this a winning message for Democrats?
Look, I think to Amanda's point earlier, like, the party is trying new things. We're trying to make inroads with people that have platforms, that have a space where, news is consumed by different, a range of people of all ages. Look, is that the winning message? I don't know. I think there was a point to be made on like what they're fighting for. I think for Democrats, we need to keep focusing and not get distracted by Donald Trump and the Republicans. I mean, we should focus on the fact that, grocery prices are still high, egg prices are still high, and someone like Elon Musk is coming in and running the government like it's its own private company. And at the end of the day, I think that's really going to sit poorly with the American people. And to what Ashley said earlier, we're 46, 45 days in. It feels like 46 months at this point. I don't think the average person is going to enjoy this for that much longer.
Well, and to that point, Amanda, I'm curious. Look, we heard about the Democrats trying new things. Here's Gavin Newsom specifically talking to Charlie Kirk. I mean, 18 months ago, I wouldn't have had that on my bingo card. But what do you make of his outreach?
Sure. Well, first of all, welcome to the big tent of the Democratic party and to the presidential campaigns already starting. But I will just say one thing to really be aware of is people have to make sure they're authentic. And so no matter what you're going to do or how you're going to move, I don't think this is actually authentic for someone who has actually championed LGBTQIA rights over his period of time. And so I think every candidate, as they're trying to make their way to the presidency, it is important to be who you are as you enter that, because people can away, and authenticity and remembering real people is going to be an important part of this entire process.
Well, and John, I want to swing back to you if you don't mind, sir. ABC News has been reporting that former Vice President Kamala Harris is now mulling a run for California's gubernatorial race and will make that decision at the end of the summer. Could it be that these two Californians, Newsom and Harris, are going up against each other in 2028? Do you see that? Is that at all a possibility?
Absolutely. There's no question that's happening. Kamala Harris has had a lot of success running statewide in California. So Newsom's no dummy. He understands that. But I must digress for a minute. The video that the Democrats sent out, many of my friends from Congress are in that video. But I would tell them if they were sitting next to me right now having a beer with me, you're not going to gain back the House. You're not going to gain back the White House by videos like that. You're going to talk about meat and potatoes issues like some of my colleagues have talked about tonight.
All right. Heard it there first. John, Amanda, Ashley, and Sabrina, thank you very much.